Hello, this is Budek. I'm going to be demonstrating some use cases with NFC to show how it executes and how to use the NDEF records and in which order we can expect them to execute with. We'll be doing some live demos and hopefully you'll find this very informative with your application. The purpose is to show which order they're executed at, how many they can be written to, and again a live demo using an Android phone. What am I going to use for this demonstration? You'll see it off camera. I'm going to use one of these large cards, the NFC Everywhere NFC sample card, very easy to use, so I can read and write to it multiple times. That'll be off camera, you won't see it. And I'll be touching the Samsung Galaxy S5. You'll be seeing the display, but you will not see the actual device on the camera. Several apps, fortunately they're all free, that'll be used on the Galaxy S5. One will be the Tag Writer, written by NXP. That is a free utility, lets you write tags, lets you read them as well, lets you store data sets. The read portion doesn't give you as much information as the next app, and so I'll be writing with the Tag Writer and then using an app called Tag Info. Tag Info actually takes apart the NDEF record, shows you all the fields, the text fields, and everything that's on your card, identifies the chipset manufacturer and so forth. So I'll be flipping between those two main apps. Another one that you'll see being called up will be the NTag Demo. That's an NFC demonstration app for the NTag board, but I'll just be using that to show you how you can auto-execute an app, make it run automatically. Last one that's free is the Chrome browser, which is an internet browser that comes with your Android phone. The general flow for Android NFC execution is that you can store multiple NDEF records into a card depending on how much memory the tag has. Record number one, it'll go in sequential order. If record number one is an auto launch application, it will execute that first and not use the other two records or three records, however many you have afterwards. So if it's a application and you're auto launching it, that's what it'll execute. If record number one is not an auto launch application, Android will go to record number two and it will then auto launch that application. That application, when it executes, can go back to record number one to get data. So one example will be web browsing. You would put in your URL into record number one. Record number two would be the auto launch for the browser, the Chrome browser. If record number one and record number two are not auto launched, then it would execute the third record and so forth, go down the line until it finds one that's an auto launch application. If you were to write your own application, you could probably have it auto launch in record one or number two, whichever one you wanted to, and then the application could continue and read the records, read data out of records 2, 3, 4, and so forth, and then choose to run an app or to choose to run another web browsing URL website. These are the use cases that we'll demonstrate one by one. The first one will be we'll put in a URL record, but we're not going to auto launch Chrome or anything. We're going to auto launch the NTag app. And you'll see that Tag Writer will actually put in records that we weren't familiar with, we didn't know about until you used the Tag Info to find out what was actually added. The second example we'll use, we'll put in a URL record, but we're not going to have it auto launch Chrome or any other app. See what happens with that. We're not going to identify Chrome, and we'll see that it will automatically add in other records that we weren't aware of. Third example, we'll do a URL record for web browsing, but we're not going to auto launch Chrome, and we're going to follow it by another record that will launch an app. We'll put in a URL record and finally have it auto launch with Chrome. See what that does. It should be example number 4 will be very similar to number 2, although we're going to specify for it to auto launch Chrome. And on example number 4, example 2 will execute exactly the same way, but we're not going to specify Chrome. We'll see that both tags for examples 2 and 4 will end up being identical. And then lastly, we're going to do what happens if you have an app that's not found in Google Play, not found on the phone, what happens then. So we'll see what that happens and see if it executes Chrome or not. Let's go to the first example. I'm in the tag writer software. I'm going to write a simple tag to do a web browser. I'm going to delete this. So now all it's going to do is it's supposed to point to my web browser, a bookmark. However, what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep the application launcher to run the application. And so even though it appears I'm only writing one record, so I'll hit write, and then I'll tap my tag. It asks me to confirm it. I'll go ahead and confirm it. What you can see is that it added in a second record to launch the application. Even though I didn't specifically specify it, it does add that record. I can verify it, of course, by going to tag info, would show that to me clearly. I will go and tap the, you can hear that it found the record. If I go to my NDEF, you can see record number 1 will be my web browser. The software tag writer wrote in that second record that I'm going to launch an application, so it's going to launch Android NTag Demo, even though I did not specify it, because that's what I want to auto launch. And so that's how this version works. Alright, I'm in my tag writer software. What I'm going to do this time is put in a web browser application. So I add this in. All I want to do is web browse only. I'm going to put the bookmark in. Even though I delete the bookmark, it's still saying that I am going to auto launch an NTag application. I don't want that. Even though I don't select it to run any application, if I leave the bookmark in, it will still bring up the Explorer, the Chrome Explorer. So again, I have the bookmark for the web. I'm not auto launching an application. I'm going to choose write, put my tag underneath. It confirmed it. I'm going to go ahead and write it. It tells me exactly what my tag is. I'm going to verify it with tag info. You can hear it reading. And so all I wrote was one record for a web browsing, record number 1. No other records in there. It's not an auto launch application. At least I didn't default it to that. But you'll see now as I go to my home page and I bring the card in, it will still auto launch the browser. So whatever my default browser is, that's what it'll auto launch, and it will bring me to the web page which talks about the development board. Hello, back in Tag Writer. We're going to do a different scenario. This time I want to show that if the first record, record number 1, is not set to auto launch, if it just has a bookmark, and record number 2 has an application, it will actually go ahead and run the application rather than a bookmark, unless you set it to auto launch. And so I'm going to build my data set. I'm going to go to my data set, and the very last application I want to do is run the application. I don't want these, and now I want to add in the web browser, and I do not want to. So I've got entry number 1 record will be a web browser entry URL. Record number 2 is to launch the application. I want to disable the auto launch, and that would mean record number 1 is a URL, so it will not auto launch it. It'll go on to the first application, which is record number 2, and launch that. So I will write that, put my same tag on. And just to see what's going on, I again like to go back to the tag info. I can see the record number 1 is a URL, but it won't launch it, auto launch it. Record number 2 is the application record for running the demo. And now I'm going to go to my home page, and when I click on it, rather than running the web browser, because it was not set to auto launch, it goes ahead and runs my application. Hello, back again to Tag Writer. So I'm going to read my previous tag, which did not auto-launch the web browser. So I'm going to read that information. I read the contents of it. I'm going to edit the data set. And you could see that what it did is it selected to run the NTag demo because I had not selected anything for record number 1. This prompt will only show up if record number 1 is a bookmark, business card, or something that's not auto-launch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it off first. Then I'm going to go back. It takes a little while to select it. And then I will select the Chrome application, which means now that record number 1 will be read. Remember the previous scenario, it skipped record number 1, went to record number 2. Now that I've selected to run Chrome, it will use record number 1 and go to the right data page. Select right. Wrote to the tag, confirm it. And again, same order, looks like the same records, but it will auto-run record number 1. I can go back and look at it under tag info. Select the records, and I see I have the same information in record number 1 now. It's set up as a web browsing, going to a specific web page to pull up the demo board software, and then record number 2 is to run the app. And so let me go to the home page. And it pulls up the Chrome browser, going to the specific web link. So if I look at that record number 2 again, what's different, tag info, is that the tag writer software wrote in record number 1 was the web link. Record number 2, it did the auto launch Chrome. Chrome auto launches, and then it knows to go back to record number 1 and pull out the link. I could add in now record number 3 or record number 4 to launch other applications, and that would mean my applications would run and could read those other records. But by default, Android will see to execute the application, which in this case is Chrome, read the link out of record number 1. And to see it operate again, go back to the home page, I'll click on it, and my Chrome comes up with the default web link of going to the demo board. This last scenario, what I want to do is put in a fictitious application and see what it does. So I'm going to go ahead and read the previous version that I did, previous tag. And this one was the version which is going to auto-run Chrome. So if I go back to edit, it was a web browser, but auto-launch is set to run Chrome. So Chrome runs, picks out the bookmark out of record number 1. If there's enough memory, record number 3 would have been written to run the Android application. Well, what I want to do now is add in a fictitious application. I want to launch an application, put it into record number 1. It puts it from the top down. So I'm going to put in a fake app which doesn't exist in Play Store. And so what I see I have, it doesn't ask me again if I want to auto-launch because the web browser Chrome is not record number 1. Record number 1 is a fictitious app, AA. Next is a web browser location, and then it would auto-launch would launch for Chrome and auto-launch an application. Depending how much memory I have, it may run multiple records, write multiple records into it. So I'm writing to it. And it's telling me that it wrote 3 records, but I want to again verify it. Best way is with tag info. It tells me a lot more information. Okay, so record number 1, it's going to auto-launch a fictitious application which does not exist on my phone, does not exist in Google Play. Second record, it did fit in the URL record for a web browser. It still kept record number 3 to run Chrome application, and then if there was enough memory, I would have wrote in that record 4 to auto launch the NTAG application. It would be really nice if there was some way of saying that record number 1 is not a valid application. Let me go ahead and skip to record number 2, but that does not work, so it will just stop and auto run on record number 1. If you had your own app written on the phone, if AA was a valid app, it could power up and then go ahead and access content for record number 2 and say, oh, you want to run a web browsing, let me go to web browser pointed to by record number 2. But again, let's write this. So this is the information that's on it. If I go to my home page, it will just try to run that fictitious AA app and will not go to record number 2. So it doesn't find it on the phone, does not find it in Play Store. Try it again. And just to confirm what we were seeing, so record number 1 is a fictitious app, and that's where it stops. And Android will always run the first auto run application. Record number 1 is a fake one. Record number 2 is ignored. But again, my app on my phone would be able to read these subsequent records. Any other questions? Let me know. This next example, I want to show how NFC can be used to determine what platform I'm running. Am I running on an Android, an Apple, or a PC? One of the ways to do that I can show is an app that starts up Chromecast that determines what platform that you're on. And so what I'll do is execute that. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to read my existing tag that I had, again using NFC Writer. It comes back and it says that I was launching a bookmark. So what I'm going to do now is come into here and change the URL. Normally if I was in Chrome on a PC or in my Android, I would not have to pull in the full extension of HTTP www, but NFC will not accept it unless it's a valid address, and so full URL. So I'm going to type in google.com and I'm going to go to an address called cast.setup, which is how I set up my Chromecast, and that will ask me then what platform I want to install it on. So I've entered this. I want to save it. And I did not change the title, but I'll just leave it. It says, you can see it says NTAG I2C Explorer, but it's actually going to run Chromecast. Should have edited that as well. And so my data set, bookmark, cast to set up, and I will write. I'm going to overwrite it. And I want to launch it. Sorry, back up. I want to do, I actually want to launch it with Chrome. And again, it will take me then to a web page which knows what platform I'm on. So now I want to write this record. Confirmed it. And we can see that it's going, it has a bookmark, and then it's going to launch Chrome in order to run it. And I will now go to the tag info just to see exactly what it does. Found my card, found my IC. Record number 1 has to be the full URL, going to google.com/cast setup, which is platform independent, and then it's going to run Android Chrome. I will now go to my home page, and now when I tap it, it runs Google Chrome. And Google Chrome somehow figures out, it knows that I'm on an Android platform, and it tells me that my only option is to install Google Play and to run it. If I run this on an Apple, go to that same web link, it would only bring up iTunes. If I go on a PC, it'll give me a choice if I want to run Google Play, iTunes, or install it onto my PC. If I were to hit on my desktop PC Google Play, it would ask me which device I want to download it on, and next time I bring up my phone, it would download that app to the phone. So now let's see what it does when it runs on a actual PC laptop. Now I'm going to show what this web link can do on a regular PC. So the same web link that I typed in with my Android, I can type in on a PC. If I go to google.com/ and I'm going to go to cast/setup. I don't need the HTTP on the PC because it'll fill in the website, so I can see what website it went to. What I can also see is that it does not identify my Chrome web browser. It doesn't know whether what platform I'm running on, so it gives me a choice between Google Play or Apple Store. If I did not have the Chromecast player built in on my PC, I would not get the blue logo. What it would do, it would ask me to go to a web link that I could click on to install it for a PC. So again, if you don't know what platform you're running at, you could run to a website and then have the website give the user the option whether they want to install the Android app, Apple app, or if it's running on a PC, be able to install the PC app.